Morning. It's a red morning. Welcome to Red Morning. Hope you enjoy yourselves. 6:30. Chad. Hey, how's it going, guys? Welcome to the episode. Welcome to the podcast. Was a bit struggling for topics today because, like I said, so here's the startup. It was something one of you guys said during one of my game streams, if you can think of all things, where they used to watch a lot of different content creators, and it's most of the names you know, some of the ones I like, some of the ones I don't, and they go, after a couple months, you kind of realize, like, you know the shtick, you know the gimmick, you know what they're going to say, you know how they generally answer things. And the point that got to me, and it's something that got me thinking, was that, yeah, but I basically stick here, and you're the only one I watch. And I was like, first off, I'm flattered by that. Getting people out of the manosphere is like a full-time job, and what can I say? I enjoy it. You guys might even know who I'm talking about, some of you regulars. But then it got me thinking, like, I took a look back through the back catalog and I realized, like, I've got some pretty consistent gimmicks, like covert contracts, nice guy stuff, assertiveness. That's the thrust. That's like 80% of what I do. And then the rest is mostly just drilling down into details. And there's always some variety with it, which I try to keep up. Sucks for growth, because with growth, people like to see something that's the same but not. And so then I'm like, as I'm coming up with topics, I realize, oh, okay, I'll just do this one. Oh, I've done it before. And it's like, I'll do this one. Yeah, I've done it before. I'll do this one. I've done that like 3 times. And so I'm like, you know what? Let's outsource this stuff. Let's be a lazy entrepreneur YouTube podcast guy, goofball, and like ask you guys. And so I did. And surprisingly enough, and this is kind of me fluffing the audience, because you know I like to do that. You guys gave me 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 pretty interesting topics, which I'm gonna hit up this one, and some of them I won't answer the way you think I should, but it's gonna be a red-pilled answer. And I think this is something that red-pilled people don't talk about enough. They keep telling you what to think. What do you think of, like, Roe versus Wade? What do you think of Depp and Amber Heard? What do you think of Chris Rock getting slapped? What do you think? And it's like, the whole point of this thing has never been to tell you what to think, but it's to articulate how to think. Does that make sense? Which kind of leads to, and that's why, and it's funny because so many people are so unused to it. When I'm on Rule Zero, which is Paul's channel, by the way, and if I'm not mistaken, we're talking about abortion, so should be pretty awesome. But so when people see me talk about these things with the other guys, and they're like, oh, he's just the sarcastic asshole, which, granted, but that's the lens you see it through means you're just so unused to thinking how to think about things that the fact I refuse to give you a what to think about a thing answer comes off as like a dickish move. Yeah, first question, why should I care? See, that is a how to think question. What's in it for me? Oh, Billy in the chat, thank you, sir. Looking forward to this all week. Dude, I'm looking forward to this all week. So as a heads up, there's going to be Kohlberg, or Confucius, brought up the fashion. So talking about clothing, which should be fun because I've got a different take than most people on Twitter do about it. And I made sure to wear one of my writing shirts for this one. Men dealing with politically captured women. That was names drawn up. Hold on a second. I got it on the thing here. I want to give you guys shout outs and credits where you guys deserve it for. Where is it? There it is, Tristan Pinnock, which is funny because I remember him from way back and like 2017, 2018 at the convention that shall not be named. So it's interesting to see him still around. Good memory. Don't worry about it. And then another guy kind of brought up, like, is there a difference between being blue pill thinking and being beta with women? And I realized that's a definition thing, which I can knock that out of the park. So I'm like, any chance I get to correct, White Claw misinformation, I'll take it. Women, how to get women while living at home with your parents, which, again, there's really only one answer to that, but it's a good little digression. I figure if that's the question, why not? And then something about, now this one was one of those, so here, if you guys want some Twitter or social media advice in general, it's something that I've worked very hard to try and do myself, and it's not as easy as it sounds, especially if you're dealing with complex topics. One idea per tweet. Because this one is like, it's from Jay Gilman. It's like, have you covered women's preference for altruistic love over sexual love? because it's something they get less of than sexual love. Scarcity equals value. Do they value it in men because it's evidence he can be a provider? Will to dispense his resources freely? And I'm just like, I don't understand this question, but I think I can answer some of it because being gaslit, like how to deal with gaslighting, I think that's an easy one, because I talk all the time about men being raised by defective women, and not gonna lie, if you're a dude getting gaslit by a chick, chances are it's probably like the quintessential example of that. And then this one is really good from the Trailer Park Boys. Avi, what was his name? Let me get this one. Jaminity Joe Bobson, probably one of my favorite ones. And he wants to talk about topping from the bottom. Guys who think they're in control, but the girl's really just playing weak to get them to do whatever. And I'm like, that's awesome. That is awesome. Please state your question as a question. It's not so much sarcasm, though. It's just irreverence. Like, sarcasm is... actually, you know what? Let me pull up the definition here. Let me make sure I'm doing it right. So, sarcasm. What does Oxford say about sarcasm? Oh, the use of irony to mock or convey contempt. And that's why I don't like sarcasm. It's that contempt thing. If you guys remember, I've talked before about a very brief primer on power games and social dynamics within a close conversation. If you don't know what that means, open conversation is the sharing of information, what we're doing now. I talk to you, you talk to me. Here's ideas, work out the details between the two of us. Closed communication ends up being a validation-seeking status hierarchy, pitting against each other. If you've ever wondered what the heck he means by subtext, that's what you mean. A good example on how to simplify it is to put it on a two-pronged axis. One is about status. Who is higher status in the conversation? Who's lower status? And then the other side is harmony. Are we on the same team? Are we adversarial? Here, I'll get the article for it here, so you guys can see what I'm talking about. You guys can read and listen to podcasts at the same time, can't you? While you're doing your workout at the gym. There she is. Here. So it's a concept I've kind of borrowed from Venkatesh Rao and applied it to sexual dynamics. And it's really good. Like, it's not this isn't the truth and the way. This is just a model for you to understand the basics of communication, if you don't intuitively have it anyway. Practice you can get here too, but some people don't have that practice, or they have that bit of tism. And so it's good. So if you watch condescension, I like how it's put onto the chart here. So it's like, you think of yourself as higher status than the person, but you're on the same team. So the condescension is part of that. But problem with that is it's too invested. Because I'm not going to sit here and tell you that I'm higher status than somebody and I think we're on the same team, because it's just some concept on the internet. I don't feel one way or the other about it. So that's why I like irreverence. And if you learn any red-pilled concept for today, similar to, it's pretty much the core of Rob's, what's it called? Fucking enroll. Irreverence. A lack of respect for people or things that are generally taken seriously. And I think that is the perfect example of 90% of the culture war, the sexual war, the red pill versus blue pill battles, and all that nonsense. It's like, because it's, take a step back. This shit's ridiculous, man. So if you don't have a reverence, then yeah, what the hell's the point? Oh, there was the thing. So that's the gist of it. Where's my times? Hold on a sec. I'm doing the timestamps. I'm finding this is like one of the best things I ever decided to do, was set up timestamps when you do this. It makes it so much easier to go back for me for clipping, and for you guys if there's something you want. Yeah, all the nonsense, all the net, all of it. Exactly. And before we start, just a quick one on Billy's. He's thinking, like, if you engage this stuff with your real name and face, will it hurt employment opportunities? Yes and no. It depends. Mostly no. For the most part, the only time this stuff hurts your employment opportunities is when you become like a e-celebrity or some shit like that. If you're just some random dude commenting on the internet. But if you're going to use your real name and face, just realize that, just assume anything you type can come back to haunt you. And I think the easiest defense against that is to say shit you would back up in real life. And I think that's why the in real life thing is kind of useful, because if you're not willing to say it in real life, you're probably not willing to say it. If you really need to get that edgy, yeah, use a pseudonym. But enough of that. Let's talk about fashion. It's designed to be, of course, it's designed to be ridiculous, sir. You think I don't know? Grab a piece of lettuce and an onion and cooking. What's the point of this? You're broke. And I'm like, I get it. Of course, that's meant to be a fucking retarded piece. So fashion. Let's get fashion first, dude. So there's something we can actually do. So the whole reason that fashion was a thing in Red Pill is because guys essentially went all the way back to Mystery with his 2 rules of attraction. Be attractive. Don't be unattractive. I know, that works great. So the be attractive part is easy. Everybody likes that. Oh, this is wonderful. Be attractive. Girls are even like, I wish my husband would be more like Jason Momoa. And the guys are like, yeah, I can fix myself up and look pretty for the old lady. And everybody loves it. The be unattractive, the don't be unattractive stuff. That's where the why do you hate women? That's where that shit comes in. But, you know, so we'll stick to the easy stuff. So fashion. So there is fashion and style. It's understood there's a difference between the two. Fashion is a fleeting thing. What's hot right now? Generally, chicks love that stuff. They love infinite novelty. That's why they constantly shop. That's why they have a closet full of I have nothing to wear. That is why you see runway fashion models wearing the stupidest stuff. There's actually a reason for that. Turns out you cannot copyright, trademark, or otherwise protect the IP in the fashion world. I can build the coolest structured shirt in the world, and it's the most amazing thing, and everybody has to buy one. And tomorrow, Zara will make 18 different copies of it, and there's nothing I can do about it. So that has created an industry where you must always be innovating, because there's no protection for your IP. And if you notice, that's why a lot of the higher tier brands just slap logos on everything. Because then, while they can't trademark or copyright the Neverfull purse or the Louboutin shoes, they can copyright or trademark the Red Soul or the LV logo, you know? That's the problem with fashion, though, is that it's always fleeting and it's always experimenting and not everything works. And that's why the fashion shows show the most ridiculous stuff ever, because they are trying to find and exaggerate stuff. It's like the equivalent of an anime drawing a girl with the giganticest bobas you've ever seen. It's not because everybody wants them that big, but like, let's see how big we can make them and see, you know, where the line is. And then somebody will make like a more reasonable representation of like your little anime girl and it'll be fine. So it's the same thing with fashion. Try some crazy colors and like, you know what, if we dialed that down from a 15 to like a 7, that'd probably be a pretty cool look. Screw all of that stuff. Style is different. Style, and I think Tanner Guzzi gets it right when he says, how you dress is communication. You shouldn't judge a book by its cover. I mean, why not? The book's cover is what's meant to get you enticed to read the book. The whole point of a cover is to get you to want to read something and to protect it from the elements. But, you know, clothes haven't been about protecting you from the elements for a long time. So clothing is pretty straightforward. Pants, shirts, shoes. From a guy's perspective, I think the best approach to fashion or style in general for a man is just get your staples in place. You need the basics, which I'm surprised. Actually, I kind of know why guys don't do it, because I go clothes shopping every now and again, and I find every now and then, like, I'll lose a bunch of weight or I'll bulk up and gain a bunch of weight, so I'm like, I got to redo the closet. And so I try to get the staples. I try to find a cotton white dress shirt, Oxford button down in white and light blue. And I cannot find them because nobody makes the staples. It's impossible to find. But you can find all the fanciest, you know, accoutrements and side pieces and exceptional stuff everywhere. So everybody's making all these little accessory pieces. Oh, well, it's like a dress shirt, but it's got a dragon tattoo on the side of it. It's like, how about a white shirt? Unfortunately, like, places like the Gap were the best for this. So getting the basics in place, I think, is a nice start because you can expand from it. It's like a white canvas. You can paint anything on a canvas, but if you don't have a canvas, you don't have a painting. You just have a bunch of boxes of paint in your closet and you got nothing to wear. So frankly, I'll say that. Like, that's the ones you want. You want a white t-shirt. You can go crew neck or v-neck. Doesn't matter. A black t-shirt. A white Oxford button-down cotton shirt. A light blue Oxford button-down crew neck shirt. And I think those 4 pieces kind of cover all of the basics. Once you got those, everything at that point will fit with everything else. And then for pants, it's pretty straightforward. You want a pair of chinos. I would suggest don't get that standard khaki color. Like chinos is just a cotton pant. So anything that's not a jean basically is a chino, unless it's like a slack, which at that point is like dress stuff. A blue jean. And I'm kind of going back and forth between the type of blue jean. So I always say 501. So it's like the classic. You can't go wrong with that. The button up, the button flies. But then the color. I always suggest for a guy when he's first starting out to get the dark ones. They're like an indigo color. But lately those like light blued stonewash ones are kind of growing on me. But I'm like, you know what? No, stick with what works. Get the dark one. Because that works if you want to dress up fancy at night. And that works if you want to just hang out during the day. So you get those 2 pairs of pants and the 4 shirts. So already right there you got a week's worth of clothing in just that small amount of stuff. You've spent like maybe $200. That's it. It's great. Shoes. Again, this all depends on what you're doing. Personally, I'm one of those guys. I always say texting is for logistics only. I don't like text game. Shoes. I don't like wearing sneakers unless I'm running. What about these kick Jordans? Like, I don't care. So when it comes to like streetwear stuff, I'm not the best guy to ask. But for me, I find it's nice to have something casual, something rugged, and something formal. So in this case, I'll get like a boat shoe or a loafer for casual. I'll get something like a brogued wingtip boot for rugged, or a Chelsea boot, and then something, formal, like an Oxford. Now, I always suggest going for brown first, because black's a weird color for shoes. So black works with black tones, but it doesn't work with brown tones. But brown shoes work with black tones, and they work with any other tone, with like the earth tones. There's essentially like, that's how your wardrobe can go. There's like 2 different directions, right? I always call them like the silvers and the browns. The silvers is what most people wear because it's really easy, it's simple, and people are afraid of making fancy choices. That's why everything you wear is gray, is black, is navy blue, is white. Like all of those colors there. And that's like, it tends to look more slick and city-like and urban. If you look in Toronto, everybody's dressed in black. It's kind of weird. It's like a goth, emo, boring fest. Which, I mean, it works and it looks good. But that's the thing, is that once you're locked into that sphere, you can't stray out, because like getting olive clothes and putting them with black doesn't really work. Getting bright red clothes and putting them with black doesn't really work. Everything there looks a little too try-hard. So, and this is a constant trap I see people getting into with fashion, girls and boys. They wear black stretch pants, girls, black stretch pants, black shirt, and then all of a sudden they realize, like, I can't wear a summer dress. I have no colors. It's like, yeah, because you've fallen into the trap of black. My kingdom for a universal black dye lot. Blacks are never going to be all the same, though. Even if they were, just like once one's been washed more than the other, like I know the rule is like, make sure your blacks match. Just treat it like the darkest charcoal. So I strongly suggest people don't go for the black style stuff. Don't get your black jeans. Don't get your stuff. Like the black t-shirt is about as far as I'll take it, because it just limits you. It really does. It looks good, but you're stuck there. It's like buying Sony. Back in the day, if you wanted to buy electronics, Sony was like the worst because it cost the most, but Sony didn't play well with anything else. Anything. It's kind of like Apple now. So if you buy Apple, you're in the Apple ecosystem. And that's the same, I argue, with black. Black jackets, black shirts, black pants, black shoes. You can get better than that. So browns and the earthy tones, there's much more variety to it. Then you got your blues, your greens, your reds, your browns, whites, blacks. Everything goes in there. Yeah, somebody clip that. And this one, like the easy start is go with, chinos. Chinos and jeans. And then for your shirts, you go with either blues or tans or grays. That's like the easiest start. Like case in point right now, this shirt is a medium blue, Oxford button down, but it's kind of got a really short collar, which is kind of interesting. And then underneath here, I just got a pair of bonobo chinos in like a grayish color. I don't know if I can kick my elbow up. There you go. Yeah, rock t-shirts. I mean, that can work too. Betamax. I like that, Chesty. But yeah, exactly. Dave, same way. Browns over blacks. I agree. It gives you more. So if you start with something simple like this, like I said before, you got your blue Oxford button down, you got your chino. Just wear those 2 things together. Then for shoes, I can dress it up. and go with a nicer shoe, or I can casual it down, go with the Chelsea, go with the loafer, go with the boat shoe. Yeah, it doesn't matter. For jackets, I mean, there's so many directions you can go with this. I think what I have a few jackets. I have a tanned color, what do they call them? Not parka. Safari jackets. Those are the ones that have 4 pockets. Usually if you have 2 chest pockets on a shirt or a jacket, that's a military styled shirt. Something to know. Yeah, Chinese color. I mean, over in Southeast Asia, it works much better. Up here, it's a bit contextual. Like, you can get away with it, but you can not get away with it. So I would say it's a little more sophisticated for the levels I'm talking about now. Just stick with the basics right now. You don't have to go fancy just yet. Yeah, you've got bomber jackets, which those are the ones that have, they're like a waist-length coat, and then they got the big fluff on the side there. You have riding jackets, which are ones leather jackets made for riding. There's 2 types. There's the ones that look like you ride a Harley, and there's ones that look like you ride a crotch rocket. But that's the point. You got all these options. You got 3/4 length trenches. You've got... Sometimes you can just wear, and this is like the Victoria, BC hippie granola thing, where you just get a large knit oversized sweater, like a Arga, or not a Varga. It's like a jacket, but it's a sweater. I can't remember the name of it for the life of me now. But you can put that over it too. But that's the point, is that you open up all these possibilities. Then for colors, like if I don't want to wear the blue this day, you switch it out for red. It works perfect because the khaki is pretty neutral. You can go for green. You can even wear the black. Black works fine. White works fine. The only thing I would suggest, and you don't do this either, don't go monochromatic where your top and your bottom is the same color. Canadians are famous for the double denim. Wando, €2 super chat. This is giving me racist, colorist vibes, coach. Exactly. Racist vibes. Racist fashion is what do they call it? Fashion is racism. I don't know, whatever. Colonial fashion. And I've always told guys, do research into why clothes exist. And you're going to find it's like a fascinating world. Like, why is it khaki? Why is that denim? Why do blue jeans exist? Why do shirts have button-down collars? And there's all these different little things. And by looking into it, it actually gives you ideas. And then you see an idea why a piece of clothing exists, and so you know how to wear it. Case in point, t-shirts are underwear. Wearing a t-shirt today is like watching a rapper in the 2000s with his pants hanging down and his underwear hanging up, which, by the way, there's a reason for that too. Why do a lot of these rappers wear pants so low on their belt? Well, that's because you weren't allowed belts. When you went to prison, they had to take your belt away because they thought you were going to hang yourself in the cell. So your pants never fit, and so your pants hung down by your ankles and your underwear was showing. So when people dress like that, that's like a prison chic. In the same way that guys wearing military wear, it shows like a male combat thing. And then you start to understand, oh, I get it. So that's why they're doing it. They want to give that idea of them being a bad boy. Bad boy in the military sense or bad boy in the prison sense. So now you can understand why clothing exists. You see what I mean? Simple examples like that. So when people tell you to wear a belt, what they're trying to say is, don't look so thuggish. But if you're trying to go for a thuggish look, absolutely. You offered your butt in prison. Same thing with the military. Like if this one here is not a military style shirt because there's only one pocket, like this side is free. If there was 2 pockets here, it would give a hint of military to it or a bit of ruggedness, or it's like, oh man, that's why safari jackets they always have a more look like that. And that's a communication. It's a subtle key and people don't even know they have it. It's actually very similar to music in that way. And I use Star Wars as an example, and you're going to love this. So Star Wars. Do you ever notice that whenever Darth Vader walks onto a scene, they play that Imperial Stormtrooper March? Or every time Leia walks into a scene, they have that little flute thing. And then there's always the hero tune every time Luke walks in, or like the rugged hands. Like every character has a musical theme, and they play a little jingle as they walk in. There's some Italian operatic term for it. I don't remember. And that's because it conditions you to think something. Like the Imperial March is very militaristic. It's very foreboding and ominous. So then they don't even have to have Vader in a scene. They just play that tune. And you have the feeling in your head, whether you even know it or not, that he's in the background, he's getting ready to come over, his influence is in here or something. And you have that, even though it's just like a small amount, you have that slight emotion of forebodings coming in. Same with clothes. If you walk in, all the thug things, you're in your woo wear, your pants around your ankle type stuff, people have that thought like, even though you may be clean cut, articulate well, you don't go to prison, none of that stuff. They still have a hint of that in the back of their head, and that influences the altogether way that you're perceived. That's why you get some nerd and you dress him up in rap gear, you have him show up at school, and people looks like he's like a clown. It's like, what is this? That's not you. That's not your style, because it's not communicating with what they already know about you. That's why this stuff works better when it's people you've never met. Same thing with the military stuff. You get some fat dude, you start putting military fatigues and that on him, he looks weird. Like, how many of those liberal memes about anti-gun stuff do you show where there's a fat dude wearing camo with an assault rifle slung about his back, and they just laugh because it's like, dude, this guy's not ready for war unless the war is at Popeye's Chicken. Hey, what's going on, Mish? But yeah, it's all kinds of little things. Why do khakis exist? Well, there was naval whites because having white cotton was considered an aristocratic trait because everybody else had to work in the dirt, and so their clothes would get dirty, so they had to wear dark colors. So if you wore white, you were considered you didn't have to work for a living. So that's why white always has that look of luxury to it. But the guys in the military were posted to India and stuff like that, and they realized, like, with just the sweat alone, it's impossible to wear white here. I don't care how many times you wash your clothes. By the end of the day, it's just done for. So this guy developed a specific type of tan he called khaki, coffee beans, a whole bunch of other things. He did it there. And so that's how that went from an aristocratic set of clothing, like chinos, to a military one. Khakis were actually military wear. Who'd have thunk? Pretty much all the gang is here. That's good. Oh, thank you, Dante. Dante and Rob and Mish covering the slack. Thank you very much for handling the chat, man. I appreciate it. Yeah, denim, working stuff. So if you want to come across as somebody who works for a living, yeah, denim is your color there. So it's more than just make sure your color is good, make sure your fit is good. You understand why clothes exist. And even if the other person doesn't know this stuff, most people don't know it. But you still make the association because you're good at noticing patterns. Even the stupidest person can see patterns. Whole bunch of thugs have rap careers, been to prison, wear their pants around their ankles, so I'll wear my pants around their ankles to be like them. Makes you look thuggish, even though you don't think of it that way, it still works that way. And that's the beauty of all this. How do you know all this information? Well, you know what's funny, Dragon? The way I know all this information is I talk to people smarter than me, and I learn from them. That's essentially it. The clothing one was just because back in my pickup days, I realized I was dressed like, I call them snigs, standard Navy guy. You always wore the same cargo pants or cargo shorts and the same rugby polo shirt that you got from the Gap, and everybody dressed the same. And then when you go out, it's just you wear your black striped shirt and your jeans that had like worn off cuffs in the back, and everybody went out and it was just horrible and nobody got laid and we all looked identical, and I just was like rebelling against that. So I'm like, I need to learn about clothing. I was doing Mystery Method at the time, and so I just picked up little things here and there and started dealing with like the fashion industry. Because like I don't even know the difference between shoes, and so I learned what the difference was between shoes. I learned what made a pea coat a pea coat. It's a naval coat. It's a naval cold weather coat. It's like, oh. And yeah, so you could do this yourself. 3 and 3, thank you for the $2 US super chat. I watched Coach Greg Adams' Hammerhand and you bought your book. Oh, thank you, sir. Who the fuck is Hammerhand? It is very rarely the case where somebody mentions somebody in this goofy space full of morons that I don't know the name. Maybe Hammerhand Men? Is it Helm Hammerhand you're talking about? Like Lord of the Rings stuff? Dude, send me a link to one of his things. I'm kind of curious. Anyways, yeah, I'm glad you bought the book. I hope you actually like to read it, because I know a lot of people buy it just for merch, which, whatever. We had a joke about that when I was talking with Bad Billy Pratt. It's like, have you seen the stats? He goes, what do you mean? It's like, well, you can see on Kindle how many people read your book, and it's like 15% of people buy it actually read it. Yeah, it's fun. If you ignore one content creator, 6 more grow. He's a MGTOW. Well, that's all right. I can... 2 more down. I got you down to 3. I'll get you down to 1 by the time I'm done with you, sir. Go check out the sidebar series on the playlist, and we'll fix that. Back to fashion. So yeah, fashion. So that's the point. You've done your research. You understand why things exist, why certain colors look different than others. Like purple was considered a regal color because it was the most rare dye you could get. So usually wearing purple kind of has a bit of a pretentious nature to it. White, I've already talked about how it's usually seen as like, I don't have to work for a living, which is technically the same reason that people have lawns. Fun fact. The whole reason that lawns were considered a status symbol was because I have so much land that in order to make a fortune, I don't even need to grow crops on all of it. And that's why the queen's garden was considered like the ultimate luxury. She had a giant piece of land, didn't grow anything on it. In fact, spent money on manicuring it. And that's like the biggest flex. Of course, now, with the suburbs and everybody has their lawn, they've taken the symbol and just brought it down to the point of irreverence, right? What was the official... You guys and Kevin, look out. Okay, I'll get this out of the way now. If you guys don't know, Kevin Samuels, Manosphere content creator, and Tony Sotomayor wannabe, they call him the Black Jordan Peterson, passed away. Had a one-night stand at his place, had a heart attack that night, which, I gotta give him credit, man. If you have to go, go. That's how you go. Picked up a chick at the bar, smashed, didn't wake up the next morning. Can't think of much. I mean... Say what you will about the guy or his content. I'm like, it's pretty cool. I did not like his content because I know he did what most content creators do. They start listening to the audience. Because you guys provide views and, generally speaking, provide income. So he was doing fashion and he was doing style and he was doing perfume and all that stuff. And he's like, yeah, it's doing okay. But then at one point he yelled at a soccer mom and his blues blow up. So he's like, oh, okay, so my gimmick now is to yell at women about how ain't nobody gonna want no used up piece of trash. And everybody's like, yeah, fuck that bitch. Hated the entire concept of it. Sad to see him go. And I'm very interested in noticing how many people are dancing on his grave right now. It's absolutely crazy. It's like you can not like the guy's content. You can even not like him as a person, but there's just something inhuman about like dancing on somebody's grave. So, even if Anthony Johnson died, I wouldn't be sitting here doing like a football dance in the end zone, you know? I think there's just something about, like, you can show you have some reverence for the sanctity of life. Or at least sad that somebody's died. Except for, I think, Hitler. I think you're allowed to be happy when Hitler dies. It's not even a class thing. It's like, do you ever see that thing where... how you treat how a girl treats you, if you want to see this, watch how she treats somebody who she doesn't need anything from. Watch how she treats the wait staff. It just lets people know, oh, okay, so that's the kind of person this is, and that's how they're going to treat me when they feel like it, so I'm not going to be anything to do with it. Gregory McGrath, thank you, sir. $20 US super chat. He went out with a bang. Now a legend. Yeah, I'll say this, like, I've done nothing but shit on him since I've become aware of his content, but, like, the man you dislike made a point that you really agree with. Remember that Babylon Bee Art Onion article? I'm like, yeah, there's the face right there. Yeah. But still, at the same time, I don't like his content. A lot of people do. I'm not about to pick this fight right now. I don't think now's the time. Yeah, I can't blame him for serving market demand. I mean, I can't blame him. It's like you can't get mad at a dog for getting rabies, but you got to put it down. I know that's a weird referenced metaphor, but like, whatever. So we're going to finish off fashion. Then we're going to move on with politically captured women. That one I assume is going to be a much shorter topic because there's not much more to add to it. Here, let me get more comfortable. You guys got me all uncomfortable here talking about the dead. Got to be careful. Don't say some wham and ain't shit stuff on the stream because I just shit on a guy for saying wham and ain't shit. He passed away, so we got to respect it. You're not going to lie, Greg. That one actually has me chuckling still a bit. Went out with a bang. Literally. It's the new Roosh book, Dead Bang. How to do euthanasia the masculine way. Oh. Haven't seen some of the women that KS advised on his channel. I often thought, why would you bother? Yeah, I think that's the big, like, from a functional standpoint, too. That's why I never bought the whole I'm here to help men thing. Because, like, he's talking to women who are too far gone. It's like, telling a guy in prison, you shouldn't murder people. It's like, thanks, coach. Where was this 2 years ago when I could have used the information, you know? It's a little late. So at that point, you're just bringing them out like a cautionary tale. It's performative. And I'm surprised how much of the audience doesn't understand that so much content creation is just performative theater for you. Go back and watch my kayfabe episode on Red Coffee. I think that's the best way to understand it. Kayfabe. Remember, it's all kayfabe. So much of the outrage. Like, do you really think Rollo hates Michaela Peterson? Do you think the two of them give two shits about each other? Do you think Rollo actually hates who's the other blonde chick, the Canadian one? Damn it, I can't remember her name. Not Lindsay Ellis, not Lauren Southern, or maybe Lauren Southern. Do you think they really hate each other? They don't give two shits about each other, but they sit there and they mick at each other and they butt heads because you're like, yeah, fuck that bitch. Then they go home and have a Starbucks and, hey, Rollo's wife's probably like, hey, honey, how was your day? It's like, oh, it's great, just getting some shit done. I actually did a tweet to joke about that. See if I can pull it up for you quickly. Is he really pulling up tweets on his podcast just to show me? I'm like, yeah, I am, because they're that damn good. Plus, it was really recently. There it is. There it is. Copy link. This one here. And the tweet is like two. One is like the first picture is a scene of a family dinner where everybody's looking at the person with the camera. And it's like mom's going, hey, Amanda, are you done with your tweets? Come have some pie. And then Amanda's like, sure. And then you see the example of the tweet of some chick, Amanda Duarte. I almost want to get pregnant with Trump's baby and let it get to full term just so I can rip it halfway out and cut its head off. And it just kind of lets you know it's like, this isn't real. Wait, are you a Lindsay Ellis fan? I mean, no. I remember I used to watch some of her old stuff when she was just doing movie reviews and that, but it's kind of become a bit of a lolcow shit now. Yeah, how could you betrayed all men? Exactly. So it's a good thing to know with style. And then you're going to understand, like, what is it you want to say about yourself? Now, a lot of the times you don't even have to specifically ask yourself this question. For the most part, your lifestyle will kind of, will help you envision the kind of style you want. In my case, ex-military, did some corporate stuff, and the metrosexual time. So I'm like, perfect. So most of the stuff that I wear will either have military styling to it, tends to be more extravagant than usual, like you've seen some of my shirts, obviously. So you got that like super flamboyant metrosexual style. You got a little bit of like the military fatigue styling. And then you add on to that, because I was also raised on a ranch, there'll be some rugged stuff. Like I have like a blue wool work Henley, and shit like that. And so you add these things together, you end up with three, what you think of they wouldn't make sense to add together. You know, somebody dresses like a flashy diva shouldn't mix with the guy who wears like military fatigues, but like I make it work because that's generally how I communicate my style. And then add to that some of the farm boy aesthetic. And so that's how I create my style. And for you guys, it'll be the same thing. Now that's the difficult part for some of you. Like not you, but like the royal you. There's some people that really do boring shit and they've never done much in their lives. They're in the same, they grew up in a town, they go to college, they get their email job, they move to the big city in their state and they don't leave it. And there's no experience. There's no way, like there's nothing that communicates. And you wonder why so many guys dress like a Best Buy manager with the blue polo shirt and the khakis. That's why. It's because their clothing is truly representative of what they are. Boring, bland, pablum. So for those guys, and if one of those guys happens to be you, fine. You kind of have to be more deliberate with this stuff because, and this is going to sound weird, but you have to build yourself a little bit of narcissism. And yeah, that means you're going to be some guy who's an accountant at the big firm, you know, a junior accountant, but you got to dress like a thug on the weekends a little bit, or you got to start adding some military stuff. And yeah, you're not a military guy, and yeah, you're not a thug, but you know, unless you want to look like a Best Buy manager, and nobody wants to fuck the Best Buy manager, except for the girl that wants to be the Best Buy manager. Got to do what you got to do. You're asking, how is she a lolcow? She made good content. Yeah, she got, like, what are some of the other fucking old school people, like Spoonie and, who the fuck is the guy? The Game Grumps guy. I can't remember his name off the top of my head here, but they all went, like, to LA because that's where it's big and you got to make it. And they got caught in that social circle of social justice. And then their content just took a dive. And then their audience started eating them alive. But the whole point is they're like, why can't we go back to what I thought? Now you guys are moved so far off. And it's like just watching it. It's like, yeah, it's very, they've become the shell of their former selves and they're not aware that they're the shell and they're not aware that like how much of a mockery they've become. So yeah, she used to make decent stuff. Meh. 3 and 3, $2 super chat. Thank you very much, sir. Politics become full spectrum entertainment. Oh, it's definitely on the spectrum. definitely on the spectrum. And then R Sid with 100 lightning bolts. Oh, damn. I always love like the fancy currencies that I don't understand because that looks like a boot running with like anime lines. I'm a tortured artist. What should my style be? Robert Smith from The Cure. Well, I mean, on those, dishevelment is like a really good look. Like, obviously, you're the artist. You're clever. You don't have time to iron your shirts and all that stuff. So, there's this, what do they call it? Spezzatura or something. I can never pronounce it. It's an Italian term. It means artful dishevelment. And that's kind of the look for you. So, if you're talking about like tortured artist stuff, punk was a good example of that. They took military styled stuff and they kind of just like DIY beat it up. Some artists just wear lots of drapey, draggy clothes because, yeah, you're so busy in your art that you can't be bothered to dress yourself. So a lot of like wrinkled, a lot of disheveled stuff. Pockets are missing a lot. And this is the hard part because how do you not look like a bag of shit while looking like a bag of shit? And that's where artful dishevelment comes in. So it's, and this is the key to this is wear clothes properly, but remove the properness from some parts of it. Does that make sense? I wish I still had it. It was a picture that Tanner showed off of a guy in a suit. And the suit was weird because the guy was wearing it, but he made every mistake you could make with a suit. And at first you're like, oh, this guy doesn't even know how to wear a suit. But then you look at it and you realize like everything is half done right and half done wrong. But everything. So it looks more deliberate. Like, so for example, he had an Oxford button-down shirt, a black tie with a blue suit that you're not supposed to wear. One pocket was out, one pocket was in. One cuff was done one way, one cuff was done the other way. The top button on his 2-button suit was undone, the bottom was done up. But it was like, it was so deliberate that he like had to do it on purpose. So that's kind of like where you have to go. And I'm not saying wear suits. I'm just saying find where the dishevelment is. Sometimes it's simple. Sometimes it's just oversized t-shirts because you lost a bunch of weight. With your clothes, you can't be bothered to replace it. Maybe you do thrift store shopping. It used to be great. The problem with a lot of these boutique consignment stores is they basically just raid your value villages and your, what are they called? Salvation Army places. They take all the good stuff and then they mark it up to like $200 for goofy kids. Thank you. Sprezzatura. Thank you, Wando, for the $2 super chat and the correction to my Italian. But yeah. And it's hard to explain it because you kind of have to play it by ear. So mostly what you do is you end up with a consistent look and then you just fuck with it in ways that look deliberately non-deliberate. The only example I could think to show you now is like in the 70s where a lot of people had like 70s, 80s and that where their hair was all disheveled, but it took like an hour to get it to look that way. It's kind of the same thing. I've never been a fan of that kind of look myself particularly, so I can't really articulate it too well, but I mean, I'm sure there's lots of people who do. The good thing you can do if you don't know and you're not ready to start all your research now, just find people who have the, and this is going to sound weird because it's totally antithesis to red-pilled content, but find somebody whose identity you want and just copy it. That's mostly how creative work works. First you copy, or first you mimic, then you copy, then you adapt, and then you create. So that's all you have to do. Find some artist that looks the way you want to look, copy his looks. Then once you copy his looks, you start to understand why things are looking the way they look in his look. Then you start making your own looks that have those same principles in there, and then you can run with it. You'll have your own ideas. It's part of a good way to go. Anyway, where did we leave off? 32 minutes. Yeah, we're a little behind schedule, but we can live. Oh, 43. Dude, we're 43 minutes in. Time flies. Time flies when you're doing this stuff. All right, where am I going here? Oh, yeah. Oh, wait, where is it? Oh!
I know that these videos really prey on vulnerable young men who have not had many experiences in dating.
You'd think that gets old. You'd think. But it doesn't. Dude, I got a lot of goofy shit in the walls here. All right, I gotta fix this up. Let's shrink this down a bit. I'm gonna have to make clips about this thing. I can't be having crap all over. There we go. Oh, yeah, I gotta do another one. I gotta do another one. Charles Bukowski. Jordan Peterson. Neil Strauss. I like these guys. Add some salt to cover up the bitterness of middle-aged soccer moms and put in the oven for 45 minutes.
Optionally, you can take from all this stuff what you want and leave the rest. So enjoy fuck files.
I gotta admit, I think I misspoke in that. Like, salt doesn't remove bitterness. I should add to that. So for bitterness, you kind of want like a savory to cancel it out. So that's, but I mean, if I start getting all fancy cooking, you'll miss the point of that. Paul's hosting Rule Zero today. I was thinking of adding a channel for each of the 60 Days of Dread. Oh, look at you. If you guys don't know what he's talking about, the Married Red Pill does this every year where they call it the 60 Days of Dread. It's 2 months of general self-improvement, hygiene, style, game, social, career, everything, basically. Oh, it's 45 minutes. So we're going to do men dealing with politically captured women. The easy answer is don't. It's the weirdest thing. So like hypergamy, somebody else had this description of hypergamy. It's useful. It's not accurate, but it's useful. Where he's like, hypergamy is an explanation of the idea that a woman can only love one thing at a time. And she's fiercely loyal to that thing and that thing alone. Now, unfortunately, sometimes it's not her man. Sometimes it's her university. Sometimes it's her politics. And sometimes like girls are hooked on drama. Like there's always one thing that chicks are loyal to. So if you're dating and you meet a politically captured woman, if you know those, I think Practical Female Psychology, we talk about that a lot too. And even there, they're like, you can't fix that. And I think this is something, and this is why I don't think he's going to like how I answer his question, but I think it's the answer that you need to hear. Inside of this question, here's the problem. How do I deal with politically captured women? What you're asking is how do I manipulate this politically captured women to do what I want her to do? Which you can't do. You can't make women do anything. You can't manipulate them into doing anything. The only thing you can do is incentivize somebody to act the way you want them to act. And that only works if they like you. And that's the funny thing. And I see the super chats, I'll get to you in just a second. Is that if a woman is into you, she won't be politically captured. But if she's not into you, even though she could have been interested to you if it was just like sometime different time, whatever. If she's politically captured, she's not into you. Why are you wasting your time with this person? And I know it sounds like a flippant answer. It's like your answer to everything is just run away. It's like, no. Look, 2 scenarios. 1, you meet a girl and she's hooked on politics more than you. So why are you wasting your time with such a low value ROI? 2, she loves you. You guys have been together. And then she decides to become politically captured afterwards. That's her way of breaking up with you. Girls don't just like leave. They have to monkey branch first. They have to find something new because girls hate being alone. And if they're not into you, they don't adapt to what you do. It's this great thing. Like everybody's like, oh, borderline chicks are the worst. Take borderline from like the 12 out of 10 and dial that down to like a 7. And that's what you get. You get a healthy level of borderline where it's like, whatever you're into, your girl's into. Like, I'm sure you've all been on a date at some point, and you're like, and the girl's asking you, what are you into? And you're like, I like the Blue Jays. I watch baseball. She goes, oh, that's crazy. I've always been into baseball, but I've never had anybody to go with. She doesn't know baseball. She can't name 3 players. She doesn't care. But she likes you, and so her brain is kind of conditioned to like the things that the person she likes. It's called mirroring. So unless you're a political pundit and she starts getting into politics, yeah, that's kind of a signal that she's not invested. What you want to do with that information, that's up to you. But generally speaking, if you want to waste time with somebody who's not adding value to your life, all you're doing is demeaning your own value. You know when they always say, like, you are the prize? I argue that should be a way of life, a modus operandi. You are the prize. Now, obviously, you're working to make yourself the prize. That's the hard part, is making you actually believe it, because you know better. I know I'm a piece of shit, whatever. It's like, well, you know, you deployed around the world. You earned 6 figures in a salary. You've lived in half the country. You've moved 12 times. You own real estate in property bubbles. It's like, you kind of are a prize at this point. Like, fair enough. I believe it now. But yeah, most people don't believe it because they haven't earned it. So you got to earn it. But then, yeah, once you earn it, you can't just give that shit away for free. My girl dies, heaven forbid, and I have to start dating again, and some random 25-year-old starts coming in giving out demands. I'm like, get the fuck out of my house, psycho. Back to the super chats. Andrea Rodolfo Nadia, €10 super chat. Nice. Ryan, I take inspiration from you for my writing, and I just managed to piss off the biggest Italian red pill blogger by saying his readers would be better if they stopped whining. Oh, that's awesome. I like that. That's fucking funny. Of all the people to cry and whine about sexuality, you'd think Italian men wouldn't be the ones. They're like right up there with Brazilian dudes and like the machismo. Why the girdle's got to, why the hypergamy? Why hypergamy got to be like this? Dude, that's funny. Okay, I'll warn you right now though. You're probably going to get some death threats. Just be prepared and learn to laugh it off. I don't know if I've told this story, but I remember this. Like, there's two things I got back when I was still anonymous. One was nudes, which I was like still amazed, and that's why I'm like, okay, girls aren't all about looks. Otherwise, why are they sending nudes to names on the board? Uncle Vaz gets the same thing. Purple Pill Debate, I guarantee there's a dozen chicks in there that would fuck him just because of the way he talks. Second thing you get is death threats. I remember I was sitting at the convention in Florida that shall not be named my first time. People didn't know who I was yet. They found out I was going to be there, and so somebody sent to my Reddit, it's like, I'm coming for you, I'm going to hit you with the hammer. And then they sent me some Aztec skin art, and I was more confused than horrified. So I was like, what the hell am I looking at? And then I had to ask, and everybody's like, oh, that's an Aztec skin art. That's where they skin people, and they make it into a painting. And I'm like, oh, well, that's kind of good. At least he's creative. Go up on stage, and I think he wanted to rattle you, but it's like, yeah. So just be aware. Like, they always say hate comes from below. Hate comes from the crazies. Wando. Ryan, can you stir Rolo into abortion and hypergamy today? Well, I don't think I have to stir him. I think he'll be there anyway. But I'll tell you right now, here's the point you're going to get. Abortion, and quote me here, abortion is the ultimate expression of hypergamy, and that will be the core of Rolo's point on this stuff, which is true. I want to be in control of the births. You know? Okay. It's all yours, ladies. Of course, now that they're crying about it, it's like, oh, you didn't need me before, so good luck to you, sir. But that's another weird one. Guys, a lot of the trad guys are worried about that stuff, and I'm like, well, you would be surprised. I mean, even any guy who actually is in the sphere and gets laid. Like, there's some guys, like him or don't like him, but you can tell it's like, okay, he slings, so that's fine. You've never had a girl like sneaking off abortions off to you. It's usually where they're trying to get knocked up by you. That's the problem. So I find the abortion argument is outside of the religious stuff. It's mostly unattractive guys who don't want to lose at the 10-yard line. And they're like, oh, she doesn't like me enough where she probably would do this because she doesn't want my kids. So I got to make sure I manipulate it into not being legal. Again, aside from the religious side of things and the moral side of things, okay? I guarantee you we're not against killing it. 9/11, we were all for it. So don't give me the whole murder is wrong bullshit. But then as a guy who's got more value and girls want to be with more often, they tend to have like the problem where like every girl's trying to get knocked up by me. What do I do? Well, hot sauce in the condom, sir. That's the best thing you can do. Dexter Barnes, $5 super chat. I goofed up, Ryan. I think I got baby trapped. Are you fucking kidding me, dude? Dude. What's like, there's only 7 iron rules. There's no iron rules in this space, but be in control of the birth control is one of them. I got nothing for you, because here's the problem. There's a reason that be in control of the birth control is an iron rule. It's because, just like this, girls have like 8 decision gates they have to pass till they have a baby. There's the don't have sex one. There's the wear protection during sex one. There's be on birth control. There's the plan B. There's abortion. There's all 5 of those. And they have to say yes at all 5 points in order to have a baby. For a guy, you get 1. Or you get 2. Do I have sex with her? Do I wear protection? After that, anything that happens is out of your hands. There's no red pill solution to think I got baby trapped. And it sucks because a friend of mine got baby trapped. And he's not doing so hot right now. He's 2 kids in now. He's trying to make the best of it, staying together for the kids, that sort of thing. But it's like, yeah. Speaking of which, I got to call him, see how he's doing. I think he could use some friends right now. All right, I'm going to get you off the podcast. I'm calling my buddy. But yeah, the pullout thing, it's like, you don't want... The pullout game's never been good. Because that's the problem, is you're relying on you to, like, be bigger than your emotions during the time when you're the most emotional during sex. And I'm just like, there's a reason girls love it. Because for girls, they have control over when they have a baby. So they don't care. They just want what feels good. And so, yeah, you can't listen to girls. You got to be in control of the birth control. But the only thing I could say is it sucks to be you, man. A whole bunch of red pill ideas. A guy tried to make a thing. It's like, just give her a bunch of orange juice and grind up plan B. It's like, oh, yeah, that's illegal. You can't drug people. If you want to go that route, that's fine, but I'm not making the recommendation. And I'm telling you now, it's illegal, and if you get caught, that's a pretty big deal. Do you have a video about balancing your emotions as a man? Because I've been working on that lately and need help. To be fair, Dragon, all of my content kind of has that as the background. Big answer to that is just, what do you want? Like, when you know what you want out of life, your emotions don't matter. It's, does this get me closer to my goal, and does it not? So your problem isn't emotions. Your problem is vision. So men dealing with politically captured women. Short answer is don't. The long answer is the reason that she's not into you is probably a solid one. Pay attention. She fell out of love with you. Something happened to you. Something happened to her. All relationships are temporary. Even the ones that are lifelong. Somebody dies. We all die our own. Just be aware if the signs are there that things aren't providing value. Take steps to either replace them or supplement them. Yeah, it's tough arguing my body, my choice, COVID jab. I mean, what's the rule? There's somebody showed me this. It was some political law. It's like all arguments are disingenuous. Just when you see all these arguments online and you just want to point out how hypocritical things are, just think of it this way. What can I say to get you to do what I want? If it's true, great, but it doesn't have to be. And that's every argument you're ever going to see about any of this stuff. What words can I say today that gets you to do what I want now, without any recommendations of what happens in the past or the future? What's up, buddy? You guys see the pupper sneaking in every now and again. So the next one is blue pill beta? Like, what's the difference between blue pill and beta? And this is one of those description ones, because like the guy is referring to beta to mean bad. So if you guys think what a lot of guys do, and I hate how they do it, and Rollo feeds this, and I kind of give him shit on it too, but alpha and beta. Alpha is good. Alpha is like, replace godliness with alpha. And beta is bad and evil and satanic and all the things that are wrong with the world. And it's being a bitch and it's being a woman, and alpha is man and good and evil and cats and dogs. It's like, fuck you guys. Why do you got to take a fairly easy to understand, useful concept and tism the fuck out of it, you know? Oh, that's right. They're missing the mattress in their bed, so he's got to float around. Here, one sec. You trying to lie down, buddy? Well, Chomsky took the bed, so you're just going to have to get in the big one or you're done. That's all you got. I'm not putting you on my lap, so you can forget that noise right now. Dude, he's just staring me down. All right, anyways. Is blue pill beta? Well, first off, let's get some definitions out of the way fairly quickly. Blue pill and red pill. All those were comments. Anything red pill or anything blue pill is what follows the social norms, the overt rules that work with interactions, social dynamics. You know, be a good man, go to college, get a house, be friends with a girl before you sleep with her. Disney fantasy stuff. So anything that is seen as socially acceptable when it comes to sexual dynamics and personal interactions. Everything red pill is stuff that's based on observing the world as it is and not in the manipulative ways that people tell you it is. That's it. Anything you say, anything you do, can either fit within one or the other, or neither. Some things are completely outside of this entire lens. It's not an all-encompassing idea. With sexual dynamics, because I'm not, politics are red. Fuck whatever. Islam is, well, technically Christianity and trad and punk is the new, fuck off, whatever. So that's the difference between red pill and blue pill. And that's the easiest and best way to understand it. And anytime you think of it, that's the only thing you need to think about. What's in it for me? Is this me understanding the world in a better way to make the outcomes that I want? Not true, but better. So there's a lot of red pill stuff that's just not true. All women are like that. No, all women are not like that. But if you assume all women are like that, you tend to make better decisions that give you better outcomes. I think I've said it a bunch. If you think, I just tell this to Ed Lattimore, we were hanging out, and he's like, he was asking about, like, some of this stuff just makes no sense. Like, I know that's not true. I'm like, yeah, I know a lot of it isn't true. But it's like, if I tell you the moon is made out of cheese, and you go work out 3 days a week because of that, then as far as the red pill is concerned, the moon is made out of cheese, and that's all we're going to preach. Or, preach is a bad word, but you know what I mean. Stop staring at me. So yeah, it's about utility. It's never been about truth. Truth is nice, but there's some cases where truth is not helpful to you, and so there's no point in it. The idea of men being perfectly expendable and disposable, yeah, that's true. It's not very helpful, though. So acting like you are the prize is technically untrue. Women are the prize because they have an intrinsic value to them. But if you start acting the way the world is true, you're going to be the best plow horse that ever plowed and treat women as irreverent gods. Yeah, that's truth. That's how you propagate genes. It's going to make you fucking miserable, though. Well, not even necessarily piece of shit like until proven otherwise either, Mish. It's like AWOL's not a bad thing. Remember what I said before? Hypergamy is the idea that a girl can be loyal and into one thing at a time. If that thing is you, all women are like that, is a great thing. I'm the one, man. I'm the one. Oh, that's awesome. I mean, you are until you aren't. That's why a lot of guys think that girls is just gonna bunky branch as soon as somebody else has a bigger wallet or is an inch taller than you. It's like, no, they're not. Because when girls into you, they stop seeing other guys as attractive. That actually drops people down in value. If a girl is into you, nobody's as hot as you. I think I've told you the story before about the chick I used to sail with, Stacy. As soon as she started dating a guy, big fucking hammers. As soon as they break up, oh, little dick motherfucker. And you're like, see? And it's like, did his dick magically change with the power of her being around him? It's like, no. Did she really believe it was the biggest hammer? Yes. But that's the point. Hypergamist. She's into some dude. She's doing serial dating. I love this guy. He's the greatest guy ever. His dick is huge. He's the most attractive man I've ever seen. He's great. And then she fell out of love with him because if you fall in fast, you fall out fast. Now he's small dick and nobody likes him and everybody's uglier. He's ugly as shit. That's just how girls work, man. And the beauty of it is, if you got your head on a swivel, you can be with a girl who absolutely adores the ground you walk on. She loves you. She has to sit there and stare at you when you're sleeping and some creepy shit like that. And you're always, it could weird you out, but she giggles. And then that same girl, for whatever reason, maybe she's crazy, maybe you've been a bitch for too long, maybe she just, is one of those people that constantly needs novelty and it has nothing to do with you. Then she starts to love somebody else. If you got your head on a swivel, you see the differences. Yeah, AWOL. All women are like that. If you start seeing a woman acting hypergamous towards you, AWOL. If you start seeing a woman who's with you acting hypergamous to something else, AWOL. Helps you make better decisions, And then beta. Like, I've said this so much. I even made a TikTok about it. That's how fucking basic bitch this is. I could fit this answer into 15 seconds. Alpha and beta. And everybody's like, that's not alpha because wolves in the wolf pack. Like, no, fuck. Alpha is just a Greek. I think it's Greek or Latin. First letter of the alphabet. It symbolizes so much. Telecommunications talk about alpha waves, beta waves, delta waves. Sexual strategy talks about alphas and betas. And like communal wolf pack shit talks about alpha males and beta males and stuff. So alpha and beta is just words. You can define them in all kinds of different arenas. And in the sexual strategy one, alpha is just all of the sexual desire stuff. Is this sexually desirable? Will this make her wet? Bam, alpha. Throw a circle around it, throw everything in there, that's alpha. I talk about container words where you take a box, you write alpha on the side, you fill it up with emotions and feelings, tape it up, throw it at some guy's feet. He doesn't know what the fuck you're talking about because his box looks different than yours, but yours is closed. So you assume you're talking about the same thing, but you're not. And that's why definitions are important. The difference here is alpha is an objective box. Everybody should have the same things in the box. We can argue about some of the stuff, but as a general principle, everybody's like, anything in that box will get me laid more often than not. Beta is the comfort one. Beta is everything that keeps a girl around longer than that first lay. And as long as you have those two concepts in your mind, this is about fucking, and this is about being a boyfriend. Fucking husband. Fucking father. Keep those separate. Understand they both exist. And it's not like you should have an exact, like, even Rollo talks about alpha fucks and beta bucks, the dual sexual strategy of women have, right? So when you see that, how do you still think of the alpha male means I'm awesome and beta male means you're a cuck? And it's like, have you been paying attention? GV. I was going to call you Genevieve for a minute there. Thank you for the €5 super chat there, sir. Ryan, you are the fourth great R person. Rollo, Royce, Roosh, and now you. Which is funny, because I don't know if you know this, but my company, the name, is actually 4R Consulting. New age version. They did articles. You share lives with TikTok's coach. Fuck you. Yeah. Hey guys, AWOL, am I right? Add some Usher tune in the back. Actually, I think Usher is a pretty old reference. I should pick like a newer one. We should start picking 6'9". Anyways, so yeah, blue pill and beta. I mean, this shouldn't be too hard to get around. This one's a short one too. Getting women while living at home. You can't. I mean, you can if you have absentee parents and you always have the house to yourself, sure. But you generally can't. It's like, what's that saying? Rich used to love that, loves throwing that one out there, where a girl would rather sleep with a dude who lives with his wife than one that lives with his mother. And you can fool around in the back of a car. A lot of the 80s kids did that. A lot of the 70s kids did that. The problem is nobody owns a car nowadays. There's no parking lots that don't have cameras and lights on it. So it's like, can you really? Generally speaking, the only times I've seen it work, and it's never been a thing for me, even though I had like a ranch, I could take her out to the hay bales, but I'm like, no, I got allergies. It's always been, hey, my parents aren't home, come over. So being attractive, do the same thing everybody else does. But yeah, generally speaking, and from a red pill perspective, the answer has always been, how old are you? If you're not just a teenager and you're still living with your parents, yeah, work on getting your economic independence. Because it's bigger than just about getting laid, although getting laid is a big part. Because that's what's the mystery thing? It's like attract. What's the thing? It's like 3 I's: instigate, intimate, and isolation. I don't remember. Somebody could fix it in the chat here. But isolation's the key part. You need a place for isolation. And if you're living with your parents, there's no isolation. There's none. Oh, Motel 6. That's the problem with motels, though. Like, if you talk about hotels and motels, like, come out to my hotel room. It's got a anti-slut defense trigger on it. Because what's a hotel room for? That's for fucking, like, prostitutes and that. I'm not going to your hotel room just to hang out. You can bring her to your house, and they go, of course, we're just going to his house. You go to people's houses all the time. We're going to watch TV. We're going to cook in the kitchen. We're going to, fix my makeup or whatever. I'm going to feed my fish. There's that plausible deniability that you just don't get from motels. Because there's only one reason to bring a girl to your hotel room. Or motel room. Yeah. So logistics. So if you want to get a woman while living at home, the best thing you can do is afford your own place. And a lot of guys have this, well, then I want to save up for a down payment on this, or I want to save up for that, and it's just cheaper to live this way. It's like, well, it turns out that you end up spending a lot more money than you think to save money. And yeah, if you're trying to save up for a down payment, and it's like, it's after 5 years, I can afford my own place and then move out, well, then getting laid on the regular is the cost of that. Do what you want with that information. For me, I would rather find the cheapest, shittiest place in the shittiest part of town that I could find, rent it with 3 roommates, and make it affordable. It's what I did. When I moved out, there was 6 of us living in a townhome, off campus, going to college. 6 of us. It was a 4-bedroom place. One guy had to sleep in the basement, and the other guy had to sleep in, I don't even know what the room was. It was like a den, something like that. But anyways, the point is, we all got a lot more play there at this piece of shit townhouse than we ever did at our fancy parents' houses. They were much nicer. They were much more comfortable. It's like, I'm telling you guys, that mattress on the floor speech, it's a real thing. If you haven't been the guy who slept with a girl who doesn't even have I never even had a floor. My first condo, it was a cement slab for like the first year because I was sailing so much I couldn't replace the carpets. They had this ugly shag carpet. It had made me sick from just all the dust and stuff, so I just ripped it out. But I had no time to put in a new floor, so just bring girls black. They're like, what is this? Oh, it's a cement floor. Come on in. All right. And all I had was the shitty mattress on the floor. It worked just fine. So yeah. I had Super 70s van when I was 16. Lots of carpet, shag and that. Porthole windows. Holy Jesus. Dodge Shorty louved near rear windows. A mirror on the ceiling above the bed. Wayne, did you write free candy and spray paint on the side of your fucking van, dude? Okay. That was an easy one, actually. Okay, so we're like 110. We're going to banter a little bit. Because this next question, I'm not sure what to make of it. So I'll let you guys figure that out.
I love the way girls smell. I love how they always make sure, by and large, they shower. And they just have an amazing smell to them in general.
Right in the middle of it, I saw Jennifer talking to about the van. Oh, was there a Boris Vallejo airbrush in there? And I'm like, that's a good fucking reference. As one guy I never mentioned, like you can tell when somebody plays Dungeons and Dragons as a kid because they automatically know the name Boris Vallejo. There's him and there's Frank Frazetta. And I think and they both had like this wonderful talent for giant tittied barbarians oiled up fighting giant monsters. It's like, mwah. But yeah, you haven't lived until you've had an acrylic blanket that's got like a Boris Vallejo painting on the front of it. How funny. All right, so this next one, you're going to help me parse this because I didn't understand what he was saying. I'm going to read the whole thing out. Where's my fucking tweets? It's preference for altruistic love. And I'm like, here it is. Have you covered women's preference for altruistic love over sexual love? I don't know what the fuck that means. The hell altruistic love? Women don't love altruistically. They love opportunistically. And men don't love altruistically. They love sacrificially. So I don't know what the altruism thing is. First off, altruism doesn't exist. Even the people who say, I do things out of the kindness of my heart, it's like, well, it's because it makes you feel good. So you're getting something out of it. So altruism doesn't exist. Because it's something they get less of than sexual love, scarcity, valued. You love it in men simply because it's evidence it could be a provider, will to dispense his resources freely. Again, I'm trying to parse it. I don't even understand the point he's trying to make. I don't understand the premises. I don't understand, like, from an experience standpoint. This is one thing I love about, like, or guys are like, should I take the pill or not? I'm like, if you have to ask, the answer is no. Like, this isn't the place for you, sir. And they always want to be, like, sold on it. I'm like, you shouldn't have to sell people on any of this at all. What should happen is you should start reading some things. And somebody will show some field report of them going through this and going through that. And at least half of it should resonate with you. If you're not reading a red-pilled field report or a red-pilled theory post or anything like that, and you're going, dude, I've had this happen. If you aren't saying that, then A, you haven't experienced anything and you have no idea what the fuck you're doing. In which case, you don't need to be reading about hypergamy right now. At this point, you need to be reading about how to talk to the girls. B, the guy writing that stuff doesn't know what he's doing, and you should absolutely ignore what the fuck he's talking about. Sometimes both. It's usually a combination of both. The blind leading the stupid, leading the autistic, leading the kayfabe. That's why I absolutely love, like, dude. So at first it was like a little bit of beef with the twin kickboxers, but now it's almost just like I love it because his audience are the biggest fucking dopes. and so a lot of times my shit posting isn't because like I have beef with any particular content creator. I just love riling up the particular like fanboys of like one content creator or another because they have such predictable and piece of shit responses. I can like milk that for content, man. As soon as I bring up you're broke and some guy's talking about his nonsense, I'm like, guys, here's some red meat fucking filler. Or I talk about Kevin Samuels stuff where it was all the whaminate shit helping men thing, and I hear some guy trying to tell me this convoluted story about, yeah, well, seeing as yelling at a 35-year-old chick with 4 kids is how I've made myself a better man today. I'm like, keep telling yourself that, sir. And it's funny because you just see it out of context, and what you see is crazy. And I'm like, perfect. Although, did I do that with this guy's thing? No, like, I think he comes from a decent place. The problem is, it just, like, there is nothing in there that resonates with me. Like, what the hell is this preference for? I've never seen an altruistic love preference. I have an artist's oil rendition of a Boris warrior woman framed in my room. Oh, fuck me. That's pretty slick. I don't know, man. He was mad at people working with onions. I don't even know anymore. Yeah, it's... You know what? I could see that in the way the speech was delivered. That was... Like, it's funny, because I can tell he's trying to... because that's the gimmick. Do you remember when he did that Star Wars tweet where it was like, I never watched Star Wars, but I own a Lamborghini or something like that. And it's like, keep your Star Wars. I'll take my $1 million. And then that kind of went viral because everybody was laughing at it. It was so ridiculous. And he did and it's the same thing that Kevin Samuels did the first time he yelled at a soccer mom, or the first thing Rollo did when he got mad at like the Peterson girl, or like, all right, this went viral. I'm just going to milk this. It reminds me of, and there's no hate attached to this for Rollo at all. Because, like, fuck, it makes money. Or Kevin, or whatever. It's that kid who falls over because they're a klutz, and then the whole family laughs at them. And then the kid gets up and realizes everybody's paying attention to him, so he starts, like, falling over a bunch, but it's not as funny because he's doing it on purpose. There's, like, a content creator version of that. And that's, oh, this shit went viral. I got to tap into I got to put that lightning back in the bottle. So, yeah, now everything is based on, like, calling everybody who does, like, benign, normal activities a loser. I called Star Wars fans losers, and there's millions of them. That's great. I'm going to call people who cook losers because that's great. And he was sitting there, he's like, fuck, I don't know anything about cooking. How can I make fun of it? He's like, I'll put lettuce and an onion together. But it just comes across as so manufactured and awkward. I'm like, it's just the bee's knees, man. And not even for the cent. Like, that's when I say lolcow, that's what I mean. Roger Schaefer, thank you, sir, for the $2 super chat. Only 2 for me. Cappy got 5 already. Well, to be fair, Cappy needs it a lot more. Everybody thinks that Cappy is just cheap or frugal, but it turns out he's just poor. So it's like, give him the star. He can get his $5 Frappuccino. I'll be perfectly happy with my $2 Timmy's Double-Double. Leave it there. Plus, I'm scared of the $5 super chats. I've seen that end careers. Ask Murphy about the cuck article. Heartfelt, fuck you, you bitch. She's like, holy shit, dude. Why would you do this on my show? It's the people that are a fan of me on here, and you're just calling me a bitch on air. I wish you luck, good sir. I wish you luck. You know, a conservative chick under 30 is like the fucking golden calf to these types. World's worst lettuce wrap. Yeah. I love how heartfelt is taken on a new meaning. It's very southern, like that bless your heart, which is a girl in the South's way of saying you're a fucking idiot. So I think, yeah, heartfelt. That's like the new fuck you for men. Hey, heartfelt, dude. Heartfelt. All right, so I hope that's not the answer you wanted, but it's kind of the answer you need. Fuck, I'm crapping through these things a lot faster than I thought I would. Turns out a lot of your questions kind of showing me, guys, not all of your questions, it's specific ones, and I'm not shitting on you because you're engaging honestly, and the stuff you really want to know. It's not fucking with me, so I don't want to put this in the proper like you ain't shit context. It's you ain't shit, but that's okay. Not you ain't shit, heartfelt, you know? But it's good. It just shows that you don't even have the right model yet to start articulating this stuff, which is great because that's what we're here for, right? Everybody's like, what's mental models? Is that like mindsets? Like, no, mental models. It's a model you use to base your decisions on. And so if you don't have the right models, all of this stuff we've been talking about makes no sense. So it's not about telling you guys what to think about something. It's telling you about how to think. And then once you learn how to think, all of these questions basically answer themselves. So the next one is gaslighting. How do you deal with being gaslit? Which is funny because I treat gaslighting the same way I treat market crashes. That kind of, and con artists. Like that stuff only works when you want it to work. Con artists can only pick on the scared and the greedy. Market bubbles and market crashes only happen because investors are scared or investors are greedy. If everybody was like rational, if everybody had their head on a swivel, if everybody had a plan coming in, there would never be a stock market crash. Because as soon as things started to get slightly out of control, people would stop investing and it would level out. But, you know, people are people. We act emotion, we act stupid. Italian dude. We're not really. I've like given a couple little things, but I mean, what do you want me to say? Like I said, the best thing I could offer is that he died having a one-night stand. And I'm like, that's some baller shit. I'll give him credit there. Yeah, they're easy to fool when they're fooling themselves. And gaslighting, that's absolutely the case. Here's how it's getting close. I do it like a stand-up mic. Here is how every example of gaslighting happens. Girl does some shit that guy doesn't like. Guy knows he doesn't like it. Girl knows he doesn't like it. Girl wants to do it anyway. Guy tries to talk about it because he either wants the girl to admit she was wrong and tell him he was right and that she's very sorry. So what does she do? She gives him a bullshit story that makes it better. And he opts into it. We're just friends. Nothing happened. You don't want anything to happen. Dude, I don't want to know my wife just got fucked anally by a basketball front line or a basketball team or a football front line. No. Oh, nothing happened. I just went over there as like a fan thing. And so what does he do? He buys into it. He's like, oh, thank God. I was worried. I was worrying you were a cheating whore. And then what happens? Well, now she's like, I got away with it. So I can do it again. So she does it again. Probably because she doesn't respect him. Because she knows, like, look, I get it. Like, I should do my body, blah, blah, blah. I get all the arguments. But I don't care what kind of girl you are. If you start getting railed by an Eiffel Tower in a nightclub or something like that, like, and you have like a husband at home or a kid and something like that, like in your heart of hearts, you know that I'm a piece of shit. You just do. And then you have to basically build and concoct a giant gaslighting ceremony in order to pretend that that moment doesn't happen. But you're just, they're gaslighting themselves as much as they're gaslighting you. That's why those fat chicks are all about health at any size. It's not because they think it's healthy at any size. It's because they're fat pieces of shit and they know it. And they don't want to be one. I don't want to be a fat piece of shit. But running is hard. So I'm just going to pretend that fat pieces of shit actually aren't fat pieces of shit. They gaslight themselves. They talk to their husband. You should love me at any size. And the guy wants to love his girl. Like, who doesn't want to love their girl, right? And so he has to, she should give me the preach. And so he has to believe that, okay, I get it. Healthy at any size is great. And he tries to convince himself, but he doesn't really believe that. Nobody really believes that. And so gaslighting is just an inability to be honest with yourself. So if you want to know how to survive gaslighting, here's your solution. You need to have a mental point of origin. Way to tie it into red pill stuff. Thanks, sir. Fucking nailed it. You need to have a mental point of origin. What does that mean? That means you know your values. You know your ethics. You know what you will put up with. You know what, more importantly, you won't put up with. You know why you're put on this earth. You know all this shit. So when somebody comes to you with this bullshit story, trying to convince you out of fear or greed to buy into a lie, then you just know better. And you have to have abundance to go with that. Abundance with your mental point of origin. If you're not, if that person's not replaceable, then you will argue yourself into believing what you need to believe because they can't be replaced. This is the last woman on earth. I have to believe that she didn't get railed by the football team because otherwise I lose the last woman on earth. As opposed to, dude, I can replace her with a chick 10 years younger next week. I'm a micro internet celebrity. And so then if she crossed the line, you're like, oh, your loss. And that changes everybody's behavior. So that's how you handle gaslighting. But that's the problem, is that it's not an easy solution. It's not like there's 5 tips and tricks. Yeah, here's one tip and trick to avoid gaslighting. Get your shit together. Get your shit together mentally. Get your shit together physically. Build yourself an abundance where you have options, where nothing is irreplaceable in your life. And then, when something in your life tries to gaslight you, you fucking kick it to the curb. And the beauty of it is that people only fuck with soft targets. So by you being unfuckwithable, people are less likely to test that. I'm sure, and there's got to be some Chads in here. I know there's some Chads in here. Have you ever been with a girl who stopped something you didn't like? For example, maybe she was a raging alcoholic and you don't drink because you're a health nut or whatever. And then you guys started dating and she was super into you, so she stops drinking. Or she loves anime and you can't stand it. And as soon as you got together, she stopped liking it, stopped watching anime. It's like that's somebody who values you more than whatever vice they're into. Brock Lesnar's hosting the Zed. Sergio Cole, thank you, sir, for the £5 super chat. Congrats on Brexit. Long live the British pound. I'm here for the random dog moments. Yeah, I'm noticing that every now and then he decides to sneak in. Here's the funny thing, too. So the door is closed here. It's open just a bit so they can come in and out. Otherwise, they just slam on the door because they don't like locked doors in this house. And the cat, for fun, sits on the other side of the door and waits for them to come out and starts swiping at them. She doesn't even bring her claws out. She just likes to do it to fuck with them, and they freak out. So when you notice he's just sitting here staring, that's because he's like trying to suss out whether it's safe to leave or not. So it's actually kind of funny. Yeah, she stopped seeing a cuter friend I didn't like. See, Bull, perfect idea here. Yeah, or hobby they picked up with the last boyfriend. Yeah, I mean that too. Having said that, sometimes like some chick picks up a hobby from an ex-boyfriend and it turns out I like you'll like it. My first like date with my girl, which was after we've been together, we've been fooling around for a while, but like a proper date was like crossfitting up on the top of a mountain. I'm like, all right, I'll try crossfitting. I'm like, this was kind of fun. Of course, we were hungover, so it was like a horrible workout, but I'm like, yeah, why not? I don't do CrossFit anymore, but it was like, whatever. Some ex-boyfriend taught her it. I'm like, cool. Like boxing. All right, so the last one, topping from the bottom. Where are we at now? 125. Topping from the bottom I like, because that's such like an easy way to tap into guys' insecurity and all their bullshit, you know?
Charles Bukowski.
I already did that one. Son of a...
Single moms. A horrible position that's not my problem.
Such a simple message. So simple, so profound, so strong. Ah, the drinking problem. Yeah. Giving up nose candy. Actually, that's a common one. Like, I've seen a few friends that have talked about that, where they because most Navy guys will either end up dating an officer or another Navy person, like a service couple, a shack rat, chicks who just like Navy guys, or a girl that knows nothing about the military. And those ones are the best ones. But the problem is a lot of those girls are party girls, and that's how they find sailors. I like to party. I don't know the military, but you guys are always fun. And a lot of them, as soon as they found a man that they're actually really into, they just kind of give up nose candy. You're like, well, that's sweet. I'm a bartender. Hush, hush. If you're a bartender, where's my goddamn drink? Worst fucking bartender ever. Get me my mead, woman. Rob says, drinking is haram, but the good haram. Yeah, we've talked about that before. It's pretty funny. So topping from the bottom. Do you guys know what topping from the bottom is? Let me know in the chat what topping from the bottom is. Have you ever heard of the term topping from the bottom? I think it's taken originally from some like BDSM shit, where it's like in those BDSM relationships where you have like the slave and the master, you're like, who's really in control? And everybody's like, oh, it's obviously the master. He tells the slave what they can do this, what they can do that. It's like, no, not so much. It's actually the slave that's in control. It's like, what do you mean? How's the slave in control? They're doing whatever the master tells them to. I'm like, well, here's your answer. Do you ever hear about a safe word? You know, say banana, and you can stop choking the person because they know it's gone too far. Who's actually in control if one person with one word can stop everything? That's topping from the bottom. Who's really in control? You give the other person the feeling of control. You give them the kayfabe of control. You give them the illusion of control. You give them the feeling that, oh, yeah, I can do, oh, you're great. You can do everything. I'm the fucking shitty woman, and you're the great, powerful, all-knowing man. You're Apollo. You're Rocky. You're Commando. You're Predator. You're fucking awesome. Exactly, Taurus. The sub's in control. And so what does this have to do with sexual dynamics? Not all of you guys are in BDSM to relationships. Like, I get that. Like, here's the thing. You ever see that trad argument where everybody's like, their big goal in life is, I want to retire my wife. My wife shouldn't have to work, and I'm going to earn enough money so she can retire. And she's like, yeah, you do it, man. You're the greatest. Thank you for being such a great father. Who's in control in that situation? Is it the guy or is it the girl? She just basically got the guy to do everything for her. My woman doesn't drive everywhere. No man should be in the passenger seat of his car. And it's like, you know who else believes that? Like fucking hardcore Sharia law advocates. Women don't drive. Yeah, but the only difference is like it's a soft Sharia. It's not Muslim law. My girl, you wear a beekeeper suit, head to toe hijabs. You don't show your hair off in that. Meanwhile, like the trad guy's like, I want my girl to dress in sweatpants and a fucking hoodie because that's hot. And it's like, well, who's really in control? Soft Sharia law, topping from the bottom. They don't, and it doesn't work because it's like, we talk about guys getting zeroed out. Here's the heartfelt. I'm gonna do the microphone thing again. So we're gonna talk about like the real heartfelt moment. You always talk about how do you stop guys from getting zeroed out? And a guy getting zeroed out, for the most part, it's not a guy experiencing pain. Guys experience pain. That happens. What happens is a guy's worldview gets crushed. My wife left me, took the kids. Whatever. Wives leave all the time, take the kids. That shouldn't be a life-ending scenario. But the friends, oh, what did you do? You need to win her back. How did you not keep that wife together? They start blaming him for everything, even though it's not his fault. Or, you know, maybe it is, but it doesn't really matter. He finds that he had a wife. He had a kid. He had a white picket fence. He had a giant, respectable community that all loved him. And then as soon as the divorce happens, he finds out everybody hates him. They turned on him. They love the girl, even his family. Oh, she cheated on you. You should just take her back, bro. You got to do it for the kids who hate you. And so their worldview starts getting crushed. I thought I was the greatest ever. And then they find the stay-at-home mom thing. And now that was what made him a man. I retired my wife and she never has to work again. And then when she leaves, the court's like, well, you said you wanted to take care of her for life, but you never said you needed to be fucked every day to get that done. So you can pay for her for life. And the guy's finding that everything he thought he knew about the world is wrong. And psychologically, that's what fucks with the guy. The pain of divorce is one thing. The psychological hardship of having your entire worldview crumble, that's what hurts. The American is no longer the petrodollar. You're going to find some dude suiciding over that shit probably. Or self-deleting, whatever you want to... Whatever YouTube wants me to call it now. Whatever euphemism you want to use. A pile of Martys. I see somebody's been paying attention to the second channel. So that's the zeroing out thing. And that's why a lot of the mental models are very, very important. It's because it's not... You're not telling a guy what to think. How to deal with divorce. 5 tips and tricks. Well, if you still think about that same... stupid, trad, white picket fence ideal, you're not going to get anywhere. You're just going to be depressed and miserable with 5 tips and tricks. So what you do is you change the way you think about the scenario. What does that mean? Your mental models. Here's hypergamy. Here's AWOLT. Here's nice guy behavior. Here's assertiveness. Here is alpha bucks and beta bucks. Is this stuff true? It doesn't really matter. But you start internalizing these models of little bits and pieces of the world, and then all of a sudden, this worldview is much more robust, and it's much easier to articulate when bad or good things happen. Wife left me, took the kids. Fucking AWOLT. Hypergamy. She fell out of love. Killed the puppy. Oh, okay, so I got something I can deal with. That's why it's my favorite Rolo post that nobody else ever references but me. They always love saving the best. The story of a guy who found out his wife was a whore who fucked like a prude. And they're like, yeah, fuck that bitch. The Kevin Samuels of Rolo posts. Fuck that bitch, the musical. But my favorite's the safety net, where some guy kind of clicked and he understood. He's like, okay, so I've been reading your blog for a while and read your book and I get it. There's no promises like this way your wife will never cheat on you. And this way you'll never lose money. And this way you'll always survive a divorce. He goes, it's never been about that. He's like, this shit happens. Life happens. Sometimes it's out of your control. Sometimes it's within your control, but hindsight's 20/20. So fuck it. What are you going to do? But when it happens, it allows you to process it. Allows you to understand at least a good enough reason why it happened. And then you don't self-delete. I get it. I get why she left. I could still hate the bitch for it. I could still watch 500 wham and ain't shit videos. I get that. But I get why it happened, and I can understand it. Even if I don't like it. Even if I don't agree with it. Even if I fucking hate it. I at least understand it. And by understanding it, you can process it, and you can move on. That's the point of the safety net. That's the point of all of this shit. It's not about cooking is beta. It's not about 45-year-old women with 3 kids or fucking spinsters. It's not about, dude, did you hear what Peterson's daughter did with the fucking thing? Did you hear about Lauren Southern's dating a black dude? Oh my God. And it's like, not about any of that shit. That's just rabble-rousing nonsense. It's about, hey, and this is why I don't generally have nice things to say about content creators who are like 30 years old giving you life advice. I'm like, fuck, dude. Have you even hit a hardship yet? Because so much hardship doesn't really hit until after 30. Because you have to, because there's like, it's not common. There's a reason these are called like life-altering events. It's because they don't happen often. And so you need to get some kind of age behind you. Unless you're one of those guys like me who's had some trauma very young and very early on to learn from that shit. It's like the George Jones song. Like I aged 20 years in 5. You can look that up. Yes, that's right. This guy's a George Jones fan. I hate country. Love George Jones. It was a bit of gaslighting as I was a kid. That's how Ryan read slam poetry in college. Marty, I swear to fuck. I swear to God, Marty. Actually, you know what? It's been a while, Marty. Here, for old time's sake. Where it is. Kick it in. Kick it in. There we go. All right. Marty has 300 seconds to think about how fucking a bunch of a smartass he is. So topping from the bottom, when you understand that, and here's the thing, it's the same as gaslighting. It appeals to your ego. Gaslighting appeals to fear. Topping from the bottom appeals to ego. That's really it. So you got to take your ego out of the equation because your ego's not your friend. If your girl, and my girl does this, she knows it fucks with me too. You're such a big, strong alpha male. I'm like, fuck you. Because as soon as you start buying your own hype, that's when you become manipulatable. Because that becomes your identity. It's like similar to Aaron Clary's book, The High IQ, right? Which I have a bit of a different take. His take on it is more of like, how do you survive as a high IQ person? My point is high IQ is like the worst thing you can tell a person about themselves because they make it into their identity. And then once it's their identity, they refuse to have trouble with anything because high IQ, smart people don't have trouble with things. And so if you're having trouble with it, you just quit because otherwise your identity is smashed. Same thing with being on top. As soon as you're the big, strong man, you're not going to do anything that fucks with that. So yeah, are you ever going to sit in the passenger seat of your car and send out tweets while your girl drives in traffic yelling at some asshole in front of you honking his horn? No, because that's not what a man does. Are you ever going to just sit there and enjoy some quiet time with the dog? No, because that's not what a man does. A man's out there chopping wood and mowing the lawn and fetching my things. It's like, oh yeah, and then every time she wants you to do something, she'll call you a big, strong man. You're like, fucking right, I'm a big, strong man. I'm going to go do that dumb shit you just told me to do. If you don't believe me, go to a redneck town and go to a bar. Here, you want to learn why topping from the bottom is bad for men? Here's why. Go to a redneck town. Go to a bar. Drink there, have fun, wait for the last call. That's when they stop serving alcohol, if you guys don't know. And then, wait. Within a half hour, you're going to see two dudes squaring off with a girl beside one of them saying, my boyfriend can kick your ass. Or you're going to see another girl saying, are you going to let him talk to me like that? You beat his ass. And these guys will get into fights. And they'll get teeth knocked out. They'll get bones broken. Bouncers will break up the thing pretty aggressively, too. A lot of the bouncers in especially shitty small towns like Roadhouse is kind of like, it's a little exaggerated, but I've seen shit like that where a lot of those bouncers like, I'm just waiting for an opportunity to beat the shit out of somebody. I've been waiting for it my whole life. And the fights get big. Like I remember my town, the fight got so bad. There was like, I don't know, 1, 2, 3, 4, like 5 bars in town on one strip, like 3 blocks. And the fights got so big and so rowdy, the bouncers in all the bars had kind of like an ongoing arrangement that if shit got too big, all the bouncers from all the bars would basically congregate at the one thing to break the shit up. So like, even if you're like, I got 20 buddies with me, we're going to fuck you up. And there's 5 bouncers there. They're like, shit. They make a phone call. The entire town's bouncer cadre comes in and you're like, oh, okay. That's when you just sit across the street, have a shawarma, sit back and you watch a giant fucking redneck brawl. I've seen those more than I care to admit. And it's a big reason that I don't like drama anymore because it's like, I got it out of my system early. It's a great example of topic from the bottom. I hope so. Because if these examples suck, then I'm really wasting my time on this fucking podcast. Yeah. Anyways, so that's the 7 burning questions you guys had to know. Number 5 will really surprise you. We had the fashion episode. We had men dealing with politically captured women. We had, is blue pill and beta the same thing? We had getting women while living at home and how do I do it? How do I get girls? We had the preference for altruistic love and what? We had gaslighting and topping from the bottom. So I hope you guys enjoyed yourself. Now, we're not quite at the 2-hour mark. I usually end these 15 minutes prior so I can have some time chilling with the old lady before she runs off and I run off. Do some Rule Zero stuff. So we're going to do some bants now. Banter between you and me. Giving me flashbacks from my bar security days. Oh, yeah, dude. I've told you this. I've like been in there. I almost was a bouncer once. It was one of those blue pill things I did back in the day. So a lot of the guys that worked in my department when I was sailing were bouncers at this bar, the big bar in town, Upstairs Cabaret. And so it was always good. I loved going there because it great pre-selection. So you would see a big lineup. I'm there walking in with a chick. I'm like, hey, Brad, he's working the door. Big country. Hey, Brad, how's it going? What's up? What's up, Ryan? Like, yeah, come on in. Thanks, man. Can I bring this one with me? Yeah, sure. Go for it. He's like, who the fuck is this guy? He just walks into the bar. It's like, oh, that's fine. I know all the bouncers. Really? And it's not like, yeah, I've met them once. We partied together. It's like, no, I've pretty much seen his dick. We sailed together. If you haven't seen a man's dick, you haven't had any sailing time together. It's that day before foreign port where everybody has to shave everything. And it's like, there's no privacy. So it's like, oh, I guess I'm just shaving my balls in front of you guys. And it's always like, there was always like the rule, like no eyes above the waist. And that's the only rule. And then there's the one bosun who walks in. He's like, fuck your rule. Just starts staring to make it awkward. You're like, really, dude? Really? Yeah, it's called Inner Circle. But yeah, it's definitely nuts. Like the after parties were kind of nice. And it was always interesting to see that secret society afterwards. Cause I was like, you know, doing the pickup thing and I go in there, pick up a girl, see how it goes. And like that first year was a struggle. The first 6 months was a real struggle, but then it kind of got into it and I got into it. And as I got better at it, then I started going into these inner circle type things. And I realized like, holy shit, dude, all that work to get good at it. But then once you're there, it becomes easy. It's just almost like making your bones. Once you're attractive enough to get in there. And it's like, yeah, there's a girl that just goes to the bar an hour before close, and she sits there and she waits for the bar to close so she can fuck Brad afterwards. And I'm like, it's a good go. What kind of game did you have to pull? It's like, no game. I just make sure she's got a chair in the back. Like, fuck, fair enough. But then after that, I'd kind of built my social circle. So, you know, I knew the bartenders because they were dating a firefighter from my ship. The bouncers were all guys that worked in my department. So we knew each other pretty well. And then we got to know the managers. But then all the regulars there, like I've partied with them. I'd run game on them. So they'd known me and I know them. And so that's by the time that I brought somebody in there, it's like Norm from fucking Cheers. And I'm like, oh, that's great. It took a lot of work to get there. But once you're there, way easier. Way easier. And it almost gets you to that point, and I could see why a lot of like the old pickup guys are like, yeah, game doesn't work, man. Just do the social circle thing. And I'm like, yeah, well, you can't just start there. You have to kind of earn your way there. And that's where all the fucking slog comes in. That's why I'm saying enjoy the process. Because once the process is done, and once I realized I didn't need the process anymore, I kind of got a little nostalgic about it. Like there was a brief period I remember where I would be like, talking to somebody, and then it's like all the game steps just missed. It was like I'm in from the day one, and I was like, oh man, can we go back to where I have to like escalate and get 3 IOIs and stuff? Like I miss that challenge. So whatever. Please tell me you used to wear turtlenecks to coffee shops. Another one from Marty. First off, no, I didn't have a neck. That was the big joke when I was in the military. Where's your neck? So I couldn't get away with wearing a turtleneck because it'd be up to like here. Yeah, so for me it was mostly like a lot of chest joint. Plus I never grew any chest hair, so it was nice. But that's all I got. So I hope you guys enjoyed this one. Again, don't forget, it's Paul's channel. We're talking about abortion, and there's nothing better than watching 4 adult men talk about the nuances and the legal implications of abortion. I am letting you guys know right now that I will probably come in there a little bit hot. Because my first question for whoever is going to answer is, tell me what Roe versus Wade is. Like, what is the legal case? What's the standing? What precedent did it set? What do you know about it? Because I have a feeling most people just hear Roe versus Wade and they think it's a referendum on abortion, which I'm pretty sure it's not. Now, I haven't read it myself. What I get the impression of is that there was Roe, whoever that is, and Wade, whoever that is. I'm not sure which one's the plaintiff, which one's the defendant. But there was some kind of situation where they had to get an abortion, and then there's some legal question that needed to be answered. I don't know what the legal question is. But clearly it had something to do with whether it's a federal matter or a state matter. So I think it's like the slavery thing. It's really about states' rights. So it's a state right to own slaves, but fundamentally it's still a states' rights issue, right? Who are you to tell me I can't have a slave? Who are you to tell me I can't have an abortion? And I'm pretty sure it's like, I'm the state. I guess it's kind of the point, not the Fed. So we'll see. Being the Canadian, I don't need to know about it anyway. I know about the Canadian law on it, and for us, it's just the Canadian Constitution. Although, to be fair, with that whole trucker convoy the way it's going, kind of like how COVID was like, my body, my choice gets thrown out the window when it's convenient, and now Roe versus Wade is thrown out. It's like, welcome to the consequences of your actions, sir. And now that Blackface McBlackface Placerson decided, yeah, the Constitution doesn't matter. It looks like now Quebec's trying to open up their thing too. It's like, well, if the Constitution doesn't matter, we're going to start opening up all this shit. And I'm like, oh, reap what you sow. What's that famous tweet? Me reaping. Yeah, fuck yeah, this is awesome. Or no, me sowing. Yeah, this is fucking awesome. Fuck yeah. And then me reaping. What is this? This is ridiculous. What the fuck? Oh yeah, that's right. Dante's got a little after show. That's on the Discord there. So that'd be interesting. It could be worth watching. Anyways, so we're going to end it off here. At this point, I'm just going to start babbling, and I don't think you want to see babbling. So unless there's any burning questions, throw a super chat, otherwise I'm going to miss it. Thank you for checking out the episode. Thank you for your likes. If we can get those up just a little bit, I know it's not going to happen on this channel, but on the second channel, which is Digital Ryan, which if you haven't subscribed and checked out the content, you absolutely should. It's fun. It's lighthearted. It's red-pilled, but it's not in your face about it. Quick one, your field reports that you use on the Mids Watch, is it on Reddit? Yeah, they're mostly from the Married Red-Pilled subreddits. They're a collection of stuff from way back in the early days, when I was still just like, I don't even know if I was flared back then or not, but yeah, it's stuff that really helps articulate stuff. For the most part, it's from the stuff that Jack 10 had mostly dealt with, kind of how On Point is mostly Roycey. But I bring up a bunch of the more notable people that helped shape it into what it is today. C-Peen, Huey McGill, who, by the way, it looks like in June, going to come on Rule Zero. So it's going to be awesome. He was around before me. He was there back at the start of the Married Red Pill. So I got so many questions for him, which would be fun. And he's an engineering like VP or something like that. So he's a big deal in the engineering world. And so it'd be pretty cool to hear him talk. Oh, baking with Pyrex dishes. I put out a tweet on that. So yeah, here's the thing. Pyrex, it used to be, what did they call it? Like Cornell glass, something like that. It was a specific type of glass that was able to handle extreme heat, right? And that's what it was like from the 70s and I think even the 80s. But then the problem was that got too expensive. And I think it was sometime in the 90s. They changed the formulation of Pyrex to essentially the same glass as bottle glass. So if you're going to get a Pyrex piece of cookware, either buy one from the 70s or don't buy one at all. Because it's the same, it's like trying to boil water out of a Coke bottle at this point. And I don't like it because there's always some point that some idiot's going to be in your kitchen and put like Pyrex cookware on the stove and it'll just fucking shatter. At the same time, it's really hard because like stains will eventually get into it, so it's constantly dirty. Again, it's one of those situations that I would find ceramic is far superior. Far superior. Cast iron, if you can get away with it, also far superior. If you're worried about stuff sticking, what most people just do is, that's what parchment paper's for. If you're ever worried, like, I can't get the cake off, it's always sticking to the cast iron stuff, so I want glass because it's smoother, put a piece of parchment paper or wax paper at the bottom, and then you'll never have an issue with sticking again. You just peel that off and throw it out. Yeah, enameled cast iron. Well, I was talking about that on Patreon, and that's the thing I swear by. I even brought in my, oh, I still got it here. I forgot to put it away. What a fucking idiot I am. This fucking beast. Oh my, Le Creuset Dutch oven, and I'm like, it's like one of the things you have to own in a kitchen for soups, for roasts, for just about everything. It's like, Jesus, it's like 30 pounds, but it holds heat well. You can cook anything. Anywho, I'm gonna let you guys go. See anything else? Big Pyrex dishes. See you on the other side. Is that a real Chesterfield chair? I don't know. Well, it's just like a ball and claw chair. I'm pretty sure it's like the genuine leather and not like leather. Those chairs would be like $5,000. So I can, but it's for YouTube. Like I said, it's a write-off, but I'm not about to pay $7,000 for a chair. If that's the case, I'm just going to buy me one of those professional grade cameras that they used to film the fucking Avengers on, you know? Anyways, I'm going to let you guys go. Oh.